Today we're talking about The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and this other guy, but mostly Schwab. And in order to understand and read between the lines of this thing, I think you need to have an understanding of where these people, the elite, really stand on issues. And central to a lot of what Schwab and others like him endorse is transhumanism. It's the philosophy of self-directed human evolution through the integration of biotechnology, very AI-driven, essentially steering the course of human evolution by combining us with an AI interface. And that sounds like science fiction stuff. I would be inclined to think so too if the world's leaders weren't all echoing the same sentiments. One of the leading transhumanists is Ray Kurzweil. He says biological evolution is too slow for the human species. Over the next few decades, it's going to be left in the dust. He is one of the leading transhumanists. These guys are super intelligent. They already have, the technology already exists. You think, look at Dolly. They cloned this Dorset Finn sheep in 1996. Do you think they're just like, all right, we've come far enough and let that go? There's a rule, basically a law, that, I mean, anecdotally a law, but a law that I would have yet to see not fulfilled, is that when technology is presented, what follows is the inevitable development of that technology. So you think, oh, there's a lot of ethics guiding this sort of stuff. No, there isn't. There's ostensible ethics. Labs just go underground when they want to develop this stuff. Do you think that people just drop this, that governments and leaders just drop this stuff when they feel like they've come too far? When Dolly was cloned, I guarantee that immediately human applications of the technology followed. Let's not be naive about this. So the technology for transhumanism is there. It's just a matter of working out the logistics of implementing it. And the first thing that they have to do, and you see this thread woven through all of these documents, is they have to suppress free speech. They have to take full control of the narrative, because once they do, they can say anything and people will believe it. There's only a select few, unfortunately, who really have that automatic skepticism, and they scrutinize what they're hearing based on their ability to think objectively in and of their own volition, rather than receiving and accepting wholeheartedly these state-sanctioned narratives that are perpetually spewed forth, that a lot of the population just automatically absorbs. But for the most part, once they fully control the narrative, which is why they're trying to secure the internet right now, that's their focus. Again, you see that in all these documents if you've been paying attention. The internet is the biggest threat right now. They've already got the media. They've already got Hollywood. They've got the magazines. They've got everything. The internet is a wild card. They're putting all of their effort into nailing down so that they've got that full control. But transhumanism is it's a philosophy that stems from social Darwinism. And really, it's going to create the most profound classism we've ever seen. This is going to be the elite becoming more elite. They're doing research into, you look at the DNA strand, it's the telomere, the tail end of that dictates the lifespan of an organism. So we're talking about technology that they're going to implement that produces longer lifespans. We're going to have like self-repairing nanobots, possibly. That's what they're discussing. This is not me just surmising right here from off the cuff. Talking about enhancing telomeres, so lifespans will be dramatically increased. These people even will take it so far as to say, we are going to become immortal. Their words, not mine. They are seeking literally immortality. And you think, well, this is a lunatic fringe. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. These people are in the mainstream. They are the Klaus Schwab is the founder of the World Economic Forum. This guy has global influence, okay? He is more powerful than kings and presidents. This is not just some kind of intangible, theoretical cult of insane people just off on the fringes. This is mainstream, and it is what's coming. Bertrand Russell said, gradually, by selective breeding, the congenital differences between rulers and ruled will increase until they become almost different species. A revolt of the plebes, or plebs, I suppose, the plebeians, that would be the poor class back in, I believe it was the Roman Empire. You had the plebeians and the patricians. So when somebody says that you're a plebeian, you're just kind of a low-class, uneducated idiot. So a revolt of the plebeians would become as unthinkable as an organized insurrection of sheep against the practice of eating mutton. So ultimately, they're going to say, again, this is a philanthropic endeavor. This is to help people and bring health and wellness and longevity to the human species. It's not, though. It's to cultivate that longevity and health and these superhuman qualities into a select ruling elite, and then there will be the serf system. It's everything that you read in these globalist documents that they put out is to take a step toward a feudalistic society. What else? Do we have anything else on transhumanism? Here, I'm gonna go here, even though this shuts people's brains down too. Just to nail it home, this is an insane cult of just crazy, ultimately satanic people. The world leaders, the people that develop global policy, have meetings. You might have heard of the Trilateral Commission is a real thing. The Council of Foreign Relations, the Davos Group, all that. These kinds of people historically have met in the redwoods of California the last 2 weeks in July annually. What they do there is interesting, though, and this is common knowledge. The Bohemian Grove is that kind of club where they meet, and it's a place you can go visit it for yourself. But they reserve that space and hire strong security after it was infiltrated and the images were taken of their little club, where they do things like this. There's a giant stone owl in the woods. That would be Moloch, and they dress in priestly cloaks and engage in mock human sacrifices. It's speculated that they're real human sacrifices, but out in the public, they sacrifice humans in effigy, meaning they build a wooden likeness of a human being and they burn it in this ceremony here. This is called the cremation of care ceremony. This is where they go to dissolve their consciences because they're world leaders. They have to make decisions where they might decide to decimate an entire country and kill people because that's just part of economics 101. Global economics. So this is they come out into the woods to celebrate the destruction of their consciences. Moloch he's an old Canaanite deity, I think interchangeable with Baal. This is a god where people historically had sacrificed their own children to in the fire. So they're worshiping ancient Canaanite deities in the woods. Now, people who say this is conspiracy nonsense, they don't say that there is no Bohemian Grove, that's not going on, because it's verifiable fact that it's going on. David Gergen he confirmed that when he was confronted by a journalist who asked him about it and became rather upset. And so that was after it was all caught on camera, so it didn't need to be confirmed by Gergen anyway. But he was a longtime presidential advisor for, I think, about three different presidents. So in politics for quite a while. The people that write this off as, well, these leaders, they just need to let loose every now and again. It's just how they party it up. So I don't know about you. I don't relax by performing satanic rituals. I think that's weird. I think it's weird that people that are supposed to be refined dignitaries, bureaucrats, highly intellectual, professional people charged with some of the most important tasks in the world are participating in cult-like activity. But when you marry that with their ideology of transhumanism, it makes sense. They constantly talk about how we need to transcend our humanness. And you can go back to the many religions, and Christianity is probably the most well-known, at least in our society. So just look at that. What you have is an agenda to corrupt humanity and to, you have like the spiritual revolution, a rebellion against God who is pro-human, and then this faction of spirituality that is anti-human. The anti-human sentiments that run through this are extreme, and that run through the NSSM 200, the UN plan for depopulation, all very obvious where they stand. And this is social Darwinism. It's eugenics. It's becoming racially pure. It's becoming elite. And that's what Darwinism is about. It's about racial purity. That's what The Origin of Species is called. On the Origin of Species, or the preservation of the favored races by means of natural selection. So, social Darwinism is what paved the way for cultural Marxism, for this Nietzschean philosophy, all very anti-human, and sets the stage for things like the Cloward-Piven strategy, which is the strategy that our rulership has adopted. And it's to overload the American public welfare system to the point it creates a crisis and bankrupts the nation, leaving the country no choice but to adopt a socialist communist agenda. Why? Well, because, like I said, we're trying to aim for a feudalistic society, right? Well, first step is create a welfare nation. And the destruction of free speech has to happen, really trying to take control of that narrative. That's what they're doing. This has really given rise to the Hegelian dialectic. So again, Hegelian dialectic is where you create a problem. You already have the solution ahead of time. The solution is the change that you want to make. You want to affect this change in society. So you create this crisis so that there is no option but to implement this change. And you can come in and say, oh, we can get rid of this. All we need to do, it will always take the form of removing rights, increasing taxes, things like that. The people become less powerful. That's the point of it. So it'll always take that form. So, oh no, there's this crisis. It's usually a global crisis. It's climate change. It's a pandemic that's going to kill everybody. The only solution is for us to take total global control. And when you frighten people and they think that their entire lives or the entire world is at stake, they're not only going to comply begrudgingly and be like, okay, this is something that has to happen. They're going to be begging the authorities to take complete control and strip them of all their rights. They don't care. They just don't want to die. They don't have a spine. They are the sheep that Bertrand Russell was talking about. And they're easy to control. That's all you have to do is convince them that, oh, there's a boogeyman out there. Don't worry, I'll keep you safe. Just give me $100 because that's what I need to do in order to purchase this protective magical cloak for you. That will shield you from the boogeyman. It's basically what it is. It's like manipulating children. So that's the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. So what do we have? We've got a few Hegelian dialectics going on. The ones that take center stage are the pandemic now, and then we have the climate change, which you wouldn't think that those two are related, but trust me, they are, according to the Great Reset. You can't separate climate change from the pandemic. Climate change and the pandemic are inseparable. As a matter of fact, one great thing about this pandemic is that it showed us that lockdowns are the healthiest possible thing for the planet. So we need to get people to ride their bikes. We need to outlaw vehicles and fossil fuels. We have to make sure we're going greener. We have to stop eating meat. We've got to do all this stuff. That's what the pandemic taught us. So this is a dystopian. I'll say it's a dystopian plan. It is authored under pretenses of hypothetical scenarios. So I'm just musing about what the pandemic may facilitate, but it is not musing. It's planning, and that is corroborated by other documentation put out by the same. So that's quite a preface. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to start going through the Great Reset in the next video. I just think that all of that that prefacing is necessary, because these kinds of things, like I say, you need to read between the lines, and you need to understand that William Blum knew what he was talking about when he said, no matter how paranoid or conspiracy minded you are, what the government is really doing is worse than you can imagine.